Hi, everyone. So I did take notes on the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion episode 2, but I don't think it is a good idea to go play by play. I'm really sleepy, so I'm sorry, y'all. Over what each of the housewives were saying. I think it is better to deal with the larger conversation about the feeling of this show and what the big takeaways should be. Um, I must say, I actually planned on doing this video right after I watched it, but um, but I had to go to a play. So I'm trying to really kind of reflect on how I feel about this. And I think the first interesting thing is let me make sure I got the names right. I think the most interesting, let's talk with the more interesting thing. Jennifer and Jackie. Jennifer, the new housewife, is fascinating because it is evident that she got work done. And she was like, oh, I changed everything. I didn't even recognize myself. She did this to stay on the show. And I think what a horrible outlook that you had to get your nose done, a facelift, and lose a lot of weight in order to possibly keep your spot on the show. I think that's really telling. And I appreciate that she was so open because a lot of the housewives are so private about how they feel. They get the work done, but they're private about how they feel that it's a necessity to get the work done. And I thought it was fascinating that you have this woman who's open to being like, I gotta get the work done. And I was like, wow, that's really rather sad. Um, and then fast forward to the other side of the couch, you have Jackie, who was demoted to a friend of the show. And she was describing how this was so heartbreaking for her. And she was a bit upset. And I uh, felt that this whole season. Like you were wondering kind of why she was making some of the comments, not just on the show, but in the after show. And it felt a little desperate to get back on the show. And so I appreciated how she felt and her being open with how she felt about being demoted. And um, because I do think that that is doesn't come across I appreciate their openness because a lot of people usually don't feel or as open about how they felt about being demoted. And she was like, well, I needed to heal. I gained some weight and look better. And she also spoke about how she gave her some time to write her book about her journey with the eating disorder. So I thought um, I appreciated those Jackie and Jennifer's uh, handedness, right? Even though I didn't like Jackie on the show this season, I thought that she really inserted herself in spaces that didn't really need her insertion. And, clearly she's trying to, I mean, I think she's pretty making it obvious that she wants to be reinstated as a full-time housewife. And I must say that I would prefer her to be the full-time housewife than Rachel. I think that Rachel is especially in I just don't like her, but it's in the after show, it's clear that she's trying to be as close as possible with Melissa. And that leads us to it is pretty clear. First of all, well, it's pretty clear that what we have set up at this point is that anyone that Teresa does not like, Louis has made a conscious effort to go after them. And Teresa has plausible deniability. Now, here's where I think we're off the rails. When Teresa got married, when Teresa and Joe was going through their legal trouble, Teresa claimed that she knew nothing. And part of the problem with her claim of knowing nothing is that people didn't believe it. Because on television, she would go into places with wads of cash, like 20,000, 30,000, and nobody walks around with a purse full of, hundreds and fifties, like to the stem of, 20, 30,000. And it really fulfilled the stereotype. Because I mean, just like they have stereotypes for Black folks of us being in gangs, there's stereotypes with Italians being in the mafia. And where do Italian mafia and Irish mafia typically have their strong arms is in the construction industry, the trash industry, anything with a union in New York and New Jersey. And so Teresa, who has done interviews at that time with people like the Gotti family, it struck, and you walking around with wads of cash. Not only were you going to be on the Fed's watch list, but it also made the viewer think and believe that you're not as innocent as you are. I'm not saying, look, this is not Teresa bashing, because I still, at the end of the day, like Teresa, and I dislike Melissa. I think so, but there's still plausibility that is taking place that no one believes Teresa at all. And this is the issue with, are we about to see a whole nother scenario where Teresa's going to sit and deny knowing anything about what Lewis is doing, or Louis, whatever, when clearly, I'm not saying he did everything that they're claiming, but clearly something, there's a percent of what is being said, there's a string of possibility that they absolutely, that Louis may have done some inappropriateness because his story doesn't stay consistent. And so, how are we to take her saying, no, no, no? And then, Teresa has a tendency to backpedal and to say, to add more filler because she doesn't want the general public, us, to know all of the details of what's taking place. It could be either to protect herself, to protect Louis, or to protect her brother, whoever it is, whatever the reason is. This is the trend that has been happening for a very long time. And Teresa can't escape bad habits of not being completely honest with the public, period. Right? But with that being said, Melissa is more dishonest in a different way because Melissa tries to undermine Teresa and to make Teresa look bad. She goes out of her way to make Teresa look bad and to say the complete opposite of what is so visible. You do not like her. But then to say that Teresa's the one that has got you to this point is just not accurate, like at all. And I think we could see, here's the irony about this. Melissa would get more respect if she would just say, Teresa's not someone that I would ever be a friend with, but I married her brother and I tried. It's not working out. And yes, we're family, but not all family has to like each other. I never really, felt liked her. We never vibed that much. And I think even Teresa would have some level of respect for that. I just want to be cordial, cool, and then kind of stay out of the lane. I think, and not be so antagonistic in the sense of this. I love her, and then you do other things that is the exact opposite. So that you can make your husband feel that you are completely loving his sister when you don't. And so then it makes Teresa feel like I'm delusion, that you're trying to make Teresa feel like she's losing her mind, that you really like her, but you don't really like her. And I think that Melissa's a bit more manipulative in that sense. And so then it makes the general public not really like her. And So like, so little things. Oh, I've never said anything bad about Teresa's kids. Look, be honest. You have. We've run the tapes, but you did so because you did not like how they disrespected you when they were younger, or they've made but you don't want to say they've made comments about you, maybe even privately, that you've heard. You don't want to do that because they're your husband's nieces and you don't want to be the culprit of causing division. I get why she's doing it, but you're not winning. So you either don't say anything about the kids, or you do say it, stand 10 toes down, and be like, they called me this, this, and this, and this. And I know it came from you. I know Teresa's going to be like, yeah, But I think you'd get a level of respect from the crowd, the audience, if you weren't trying your best to come off as innocent and Teresa's the big bad. Doesn't work. And so therefore you have a strong number of people who may not like Teresa, but they absolutely don't like you. Or they like Teresa because they don't like you. And then, the lack of storyline, for sure. But I don't even want to get into the lack of storyline because I've beaten a dead horse with that. And like I said, I don't want to go back and forth over what Teresa said, Melissa said, Teresa said, Melissa said. But I do want to say this. Andy yelling at Teresa clearly is probably going to take place next episode. But he was really yelling, though, at many of them collectively. And I can only imagine what it would have been like in person, because there are parts that I just was like, I don't like this. And Teresa made another comment like, yeah, this is the last time I'm going to see you. And Andy's like, yeah, we'll see. And so then the housewives are like, so I do think, this is what I'm saying. I think that they've been in talks with Teresa doing it's me or Melissa move. And they are between a rock and a hard place, because if you move forward with Melissa, I'm gonna let you know right now, there's gonna be a hard pushback. Unless you give Teresa her own show. There's going to be a massive pushback against this show without Teresa. There will not be a massive pushback with getting Melissa off the show. But what I will say is that there will be a massive, horrible. I don't think that Melissa and Joe will leave the show happily. I believe that they will continue their podcast and they will trash the show. They will do other things behind, and there will be rumors started off the show. I mean, I think they will go after this show, some of the people, Teresa for sure, on this show, and it's going to be a hard watch. But overall, the men were talking about how this was bad, and it seems like this has been worse now than it has ever been, and that Louis is the determining factor. I don't think, just like I don't believe that you can blame Melissa for the root of the problem with between Joe and Teresa. I don't believe that you can blame Louis for the root of this either. I just think that they are sprinkles on top of the problem. I don't think Louis is a good guy, but I also think that Teresa is a big girl and she will discover this with time, and let her have fun and be blissful for the amount of time that she's going to be. Why try to make her feel bad about her decision and antagonize this guy, that because all it does is isolate Teresa. And so I honestly, I don't, it doesn't make things better. So there's that. Because as of right now, it appears that this show is being geared towards. See, Rachel can go away. I really don't care. But you have Dolores, who's very cool with Louis. No, yeah, Louis and Teresa. And Jennifer is very cool with Louis and Teresa. And then you have Dolores' ex-husband, Frank, who is very cool with Melissa and Joe. And Margaret, who's very cool with Melissa and Joe. I mean, this show is so divided. And then Rachel is just, I don't like Rachel. But this show is so divided to the point that it's so hard to watch. And I don't want the show to come back this way. I mean, it's not fun anymore. Um, it's not entertaining. It is cringe. And this episode is cringe. And I think what bothers me the most is that Teresa's ignorance, plain ignorant, and Melissa, plain innocent. They're really the same person. They both not honest. But I think we all respect Teresa more. And I'm gonna be honest, I do believe that Melissa and Joe was involved with the FBI. Like they may not have been the catalyst, but they absolutely know a lot more than what they're saying that they do. And and you can't let that go. You can't get over it. And I wish Teresa would just be honest about that too. You can't get, now that you know more about what happened, you're not going to be able to get over it. And that's cool. We understand. With that being said, you know, I'm going to let it, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm curious to see what this next show is going to be, this next season's going to be, because Andy says that there are no breaks. So even though there's rumors that Jersey's going to take a break, there will be no break. So therefore, this is going to continue, and I'm curious to see what that continuation is going to look like. Because this ain't it, and no one wants this for another season. So we'll see you later. Bye.